Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the DLF Trade Show, where everything matters now because we've made it. We've survived another non-point scoring season. Points have been scored. They are here. They are now. I hate it. It makes things harder, and I don't like that. I like it when you can't be wrong. In the non-point scoring season, you literally can't be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I appear to have at least been wrong for week one in a couple of places. We might be getting to that because what we are doing today, we being Russ Fisher, Dynasty, Addison Hayes, Adam Hayes, Hayes _, we are going to use the DLF Trade Finder to look at some players that either did not live up to what we hoped, well exceeded, or somewhere in between, just players we felt like talking about. That's really what it comes down to. There's just some players we like talking about. So we're going to do it more often than not because this is our show. Why else do a show unless you want to just be able to do whatever the heck you want?
Exactly.
Right.
That's why we do it.
Exactly. So let's get into some week one reactions. And it was the first game of the season, a nice Thursday night island game. And it was a player that we all, not all, well, we were curious to see how it was going to go because Cam Akers was mostly liked coming in as a freshman, coming in as a prospect, did well with literally the worst offensive line in college history, which it's just impressive that that still happens now as opposed to like 30 years ago. And it's just tough to live up to that. But no, historically the worst ever. Comes in, does pretty well, pops his Achilles, and comes back last playoffs, looks okay. And then on Thursday, he rushes 3 times for 0 yards.
Yikes.
That is what we call not good in the business. Technical term. So there is going to be reaction. It's just inevitable. So let's see what Addison found. I stopped myself. I almost said let's see what we found, but no. We'll never actually take credit for any of this because Addison does all the work. 12 team, 1 quarterback right away. Let's just do it. Cam Akers for Brandon Cooks. Now, if this was redraft, this would be a fantastic trade. Like, go get Brandon Cooks. He's going to score you some points. I get it. Like I just said, we're scoring points. We're in the point scoring season now. Brandon Cooks will always score points. It's what he has always done. It's what he's going to continue to do. But man, I mean, Cam Akers is still 477 in the analyzer. That is going to get adjusted, I am sure. We just are way too quick to do this show because we want to get you the information as soon as we possibly can. And so we're doing it. And if I'm a competing team, it would hurt my soul sending this trade, and I can't do it. If the other way around, if I'm a rebuilding team but for some reason still have Brandon Cooks, I would send Cooks for Akers very, very easily. And I'm not even really getting into the values, 477 to 180. Like ignore that for now because Cam Akers looked bad. The offense looked bad. Like let's keep that, except for Cooper Kupp. I just want to put that out there. And Darrell Henderson. But while I think the idea of the ceiling of Cam Akers is pretty gone, doesn't mean it can't be a pretty good running back 2, in which case even still selling what can be a decent running back 2 for Brandon Cooks is still a little low for me.
Yeah, especially because I think while he can easily still be just a decent RB2, like a Josh Jacobs, a David Montgomery, maybe we just have to reevaluate our expectations for what Cam Akers could potentially be. I still think that there is a little bit of the ceiling left to where maybe he's not going to be, top 5. He's not going to be Joe Mixon or Alvin Kamara or DeAndre Swift, but I still think that he could be like Antonio Gibson was a top 10 running back in each of the past 2 years, like that kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, McVay and the Rams offense, they want one workhorse guy. That's typically how that offense is run, where one guy every single week gets, 70, 80% of the workload. And that's just kind of how it is. So if Cam Akers starts coming back and takes over from Darrell Henderson getting that and is that number 1 guy, even if he's not super efficient with it, I think there's still going to be opportunities in weeks where he is going to score 2 touchdowns. He is going to catch 5 or 6 passes like Henderson did against the Bills, and that right there raises his floor and also raises his ceiling enough to where if he does that, 6, 7, 8 times in a season, then that's going to be a back end RB1 by the end of the year. You're just at this point, you're just hoping that the reason why he only got 3 carries was because he had other injuries in training camp that he was trying to still kind of work through and recover from. Not so much the Achilles. It's just the other stuff that happened in August. And Henderson just happened to be healthier than Akers at this point in the season.
Okay, so let's pretend that Cam Akers comes into this next game. 7 rushes for 30, 40 yards. Not great, not terrible. And 2 targets. Maybe he catches one of them. Does his value drop from Brandon Cooks?
No. His value might go up from
that. Exactly. Like, this price right now is assuming Cam Akers is going to retire halfway through the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not there yet. We're going to move to the next trade because this is a statement I was about to say. The next one is a 12-team Superflex league where Cam Akers got traded for a 23-second and Rex Burkhead. I was about to say Cam Akers isn't worth a first at all anymore.
No.
I would much rather get second plus than just Brandon Cooks. Rex Burkhead was the workhorse running back in Houston.
For now,
I guess, which was super weird. And while I'm not really thrilled with the idea of Rex Burkhead being the only plus, like if that was Cordarrelle Patterson, someone who has very, very little dynasty value but will still score me some points, or if this is a rebuilding team that wants to just get out, just get someone who has actual dynasty value, because you're not going to be able to flip Rex Burkhead for anything. Mm-hmm. So again, this is going to be off in the analyzer, 277 to 144 in favor of Akers. I'm much closer on this one, while still maybe not thrilled. Like, if you were the person who chances are you bought Akers for a second plus and just for the gamble to see if maybe you'll get a first and it didn't work out, this is you getting your money back. Like, this is, maybe you pay the value of a third, for like getting charged rent for keeping him on your team for a couple of weeks or months. Mm-hmm. But this isn't bad. I'm still not thrilled about it, but if I want out of Akers because I think this is just the way it is, a second plus is a good price, a very good price.
Right. Yeah, I said in a video, the video actually dropped, we're recording this on Wednesday, but it dropped today, when I talked about Cam Akers and my reaction to that a little bit more specifically, because I am worried that as long as he's not healthy, he's not going to be the guy and his value is just going to keep dropping. But I think that at any point, like I said, that could flip. But I said though that I want out on Cam Akers in Dynasty. I don't really want him, but that's kind of assuming that his price was kind of ish where it was a week ago.
Yeah. There's no point in being out on someone when their price could be what looks like 2/3. I mean,
right. Essentially. And I mean, I'm not cherry picking these 2 trades. There's probably about half a dozen trades in the trade finder right now that have happened since the game. And there's another one that was a 23-second and Ian Book. Another one just happened, I think yesterday. It was Curtis Samuel and Jeff Wilson. That was so.
See, that's chasing points at least. Like there's something there.
Yeah, and then there's the other couple trades were bigger kind of trades where it was 3 for 3 and Cam Akers was a part of it. But when you break down the values, it almost seems like Cam Akers is being valued as a late second, a third, almost free essentially. So at those prices, I'm willing to buy in on Cam Akers just to hope that his value kind of rises, just buy the dip and then flip later and see what happens.
Always worth a shot, but we're going to move on to good news. We're going to move on to great news. We're going to move on to fantastic news. You know what? You go. Why don't you take it? Go.
Saquon Barkley, my man Saquon Barkley, looking like a vintage 2018 Saquon against the #1 rush defense from 2021, the Tennessee Titans. Oh, how great was it? How great. as somebody who's like not as invested in Saquon because you're not a Penn State fan, but like how great was it just to watch him do that again?
It's fantastic. And like I am Penn State by association with the amount of times I record with you and the amount of times I did record with Brian Hart. Like it was like mushed in my face, Penn State. So like I'm there. I'm pretty much with you guys. It was so good because that was absolutely one hill I was screaming from the top of. And healthy Saquon is healthy Saquon.
Love to see it. Yes. It's freaking awesome.
All right, so let's get into the trades. 14-team Superflex. So this is a big one. Oh, also including Akers. That's one. Saquon Barkley and Rashad Bateman for DJ Moore, the 23 first, Cam Akers, and the 23 second. Saquon Barkley, 5'10", Rashad Bateman, 256, total of 766. DJ Moore, 405, 23 first, still at that 384. Akers, 292, and the 23 second at 134 for a total of 1216. So we are technically overpaying to go get Barkley because he is the highest priced asset in this trade. Mm-hmm. Bateman's price ain't no slouch. Okay, let's do this. Bateman for a first, cross it out.
Yeah.
So Saquon for DJ Moore, Cam Akers, and a second. I'm not doing that.
You're not trading Saquon?
I'm not trading Saquon for DJ Moore, Cam Akers, and a second.
I was going to say, because the value as a whole, and again, this is kind of one of those this was another trade package that occurred after the Thursday night game where it just kind of places the value of Cam Akers as like free. Because at least on the analyzer, you take away Cam Akers, it's still, 760 to 900.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it is
all right.
It is rough though because DJ Moore is
Let's
just
do
like
this a different
solid.
way. No, I can't do that because honestly, like DJ Moore in a first in the analyzer is like 800 points, and Saquon's only 500. I don't know if I do that. I like DJ Moore, and I'm sorry for the jersey hanging behind you, but I was not very encouraged on Sunday for DJ Moore's usage. But even besides that, you usually win fantasy leagues by having that running back that can just on any given day destroy fantasy football. Nothing on Team B comes close to that. Saquon does that. Rashad Bateman, at least, while it was very weird little usage and Devin Duvernay got those 2 touchdowns, at least Bateman caught a 30-something yard touchdown. 50-something yard? Right, my bad. Even though otherwise he was like 1 for 3, but we're going to ignore that for right now. Like, it's too many pieces because like I said before, if we take Bateman for a first, which technically is leaning towards the first in the analyzer, I don't think you're getting Bateman for less. A 3-for-1 with DJ Moore, Akers, and a second isn't enough for me to move away from a stud that has a better chance of bringing you to the promised land.
I feel like that's a pretty good breakdown of it. If you're a rebuilding team and you have Saquon, and this is what you're waiting for to sell Saquon away, are you hitting accept on this then?
Okay, yes, I'll say that. Because say what you want about DJ Moore, I was really upset about his usage. He's still 25 and very good. And this was just the first game. And even McCaffrey only got 10 carries and like 4 or 5 targets or something weird.
The
like
whole
that.
Panthers game was weird.
And it's funny, like, because I watched Red Zone and I was freaking out after the game. Like, why did he? I'm glad he scored a touchdown and didn't technically get credit for 30 yards because he picked up a fumble and ran with it.
Yeah, that was annoying too. I agree.
But so I go and I look to see what Chuba and Deonta Foreman did, but they had a combined like 4 touches.
Yeah,
they just didn't use the backfield. I have to have the belief that they are going to slowly ease CMC back in a bit more. Like, because got hurt. Maybe we don't give him 50 touches in the first game.
Right.
Like, again, crossing fingers. And once that happens, it'll open up for the wide receivers more. And
right, the offense will start moving better, and DJ Moore will be open more, probably more touchdown opportunities.
Yeah,
hopefully Baker, doesn't.
Hopefully the entire offense improves. Can we just leave it at that, right?
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. So for me on this trade, it's still pretty strongly Saquon, but you're right. If I'm rebuilding, I'm aging down. I'm getting a 25-year-old wide receiver who still hasn't hit that, well, the actual apex of peak positional years.
Prime.
Nope. There you go. Prime. There you go. You're getting a 23 first, which is awesome in a super flex league, in a 14-team super flex league. If that's top 7, that is gold. Because there's probably going to be 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round of a 14-team Superflex league because they make them harder to get. Quarterbacks are very hard to get, and there's probably going to be 5. You take the risk on Cam Akers, and a second is still nice. It is, if anything, is a nice trade piece. So yeah, maybe if I'm rebuilding, I do this, but if I want points, I'm sticking with Saquon.
That makes sense to me. I'm done with it.
All right, let's move down to an interesting one. There's going to be a lot talking about this one in the 12-team Superflex League. Saquon Barkley and Ryan Tannehill for Dak Prescott, a 23 second, and Eno Benjamin. Saquon 491, Ryan Tannehill 216, total of 707. Dak 785, the second 134. I'm going to round up to be nice to Eno and just say 10. For a total of 929. So when Dak first hurt his hand, it came out he was going to be out for like 6 to 8 weeks, and then they don't put him on IR. And then yesterday I saw something that said it might only be 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, Jerry Jones was saying it was going to be 4. So
it's Jerry. That. I don't know if I trust that or not.
There's that.
But how much are you? Because I've seen a couple of trades go down with Dak because a lot of teams Dak is on teams that are competing for the most likely.
Sure.
Leagues. How much of a discount do you think should be applied to Dak missing anywhere from, let's say, 4 to 8 games? Like, are you discounting a Dynasty quarterback 1, not the top 12 quarterback? Because we're talking like maybe half a season?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not. No. It's kind of like I believe that Deshaun Watson could be a borderline top 5 quarterback when he comes back in Dynasty.
Yes.
Right? So I'd be willing to buy in on any prices that are kind of below that, especially if you're valuing him kind of outside the top 10. I'm doing the same thing with Dak Prescott. Now, I don't think he's going to be a top 5 Dynasty quarterback when he comes back like Watson, but he is a solidified top 10 guy.
Yep.
You know, like his production has been amazing over the past, 4 or 5 years. And I'd be willing to buy Dak on a discount in Superflex leagues. So, yeah.
And while we both love Saquon Barkley, this is at a discount. I mean, the analyzer says so. Caution, Team B is giving up the highest value asset and the most pieces. Okay, yeah, Benjamin is one of those pieces, but even still, take those 10 points away. It's still heavily favored on the Dak side. And yeah, I get it. I think I do this because honestly, Tannehill is worth a second. So this is... Okay, how about this? He's worth a second and Eno Benjamin.
There you go.
So this is Barkley for Dak, and I mean, you got to take the top 10 quarterback. Yeah, that's what it is. Like this is a good move. Honestly, I don't necessarily know if I understand it coming from the other side, unless you're hoping you flip Barkley or have some phenomenal QB3.
I was gonna say they have to be trying to be competing. And they're going worst case scenario for Dak that he's going to be out for potentially 2 months, and you need that Ryan Tannehill, and you got another RB. You got a fantasy RB1 in Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why I got so out on Ryan Tannehill that I pretty much just said he didn't exist as a quarterback. You're right. You are getting a quarterback you can start as your QB2 who will be very safe. So hopefully you had another good quarterback, but also you are covering those points with Saquon most weeks. So
if it was,
yeah, this is okay. I take it back. No, I do like this trade. This trade is very good in both directions.
If it was
even though it is still
Cousins,
active discount.
If it was Kirk Cousins instead of Tannehill.
Oh, I'd be all over that side.
Okay.
Tannehill's
the issue to me.
Acquiring that side. I would be happier to acquire that side, selling Dak for Saquon and Cousins. That was the wording I meant to say.
I think that makes that a lot fairer too.
Yeah, I like it. Next, we have CeeDee Lamb. And while nothing necessarily happened to CeeDee Lamb, the aforementioned Dak Prescott, who was his quarterback, is now not his quarterback for a certain amount of time. And we are used to seeing panic when it comes to wide receivers when their quarterbacks get hurt. Let's see what Addison found. Because again, not we, that guy. 12-team Superflex, CeeDee Lamb for a 23 first and a 23 fifth. CeeDee, oh yeah, 700 in the given that respect on that name. 23 first, 382, and a 2023 fifth at 10. Hey, go, for a 23 fifth. Go do it. It's even. Total of 394. Okay, so yes. The 2023 class is awesome. The 2023 class is going to be awesome. The 2023 class is most definitely going to be awesome. Did I say the word awesome enough? I'm not sure yet. But CeeDee Lamb's worth a first. This was on Twitter the other day where someone was asking what to do about like a trade with CeeDee Lamb, and someone popped in and said, CeeDee Lamb's not worth a first. How is he ever going to be worth Bryce Young and CJ Stroud?
Oh.
And I reply, and I'm just like, well, not worth the first and not worth the top 2 or 3 first is two very different statements. Like, if you're telling me this pick in this trade is going to be the 101 to 104, like a non-playoff first, I might have a little trouble sending it away just because of what that pick will most likely be worth in a couple of months. But value-wise, it's CeeDee Lamb. He's great. Dak Prescott will come back this season. I don't think we need to be this scared to send a 23-year-old wide receiver for picks.
I think the very easy conversation of this is if you're a competing team, you have your 23 first.
Oh, I send it in a heartbeat.
I just see what happens. Just go do first and a second. Do your first and your second for CeeDee Lamb and see what happens. If you're a contending team, you're going to make the playoffs. That pick is going to be, 7 through 12, right? I think the interesting conversation, and you're hitting on it there while you were talking about it, was if you are a rebuilding team, and maybe not a team where you're like your entire roster's crap, like you're playing for Bijan Robinson, right? Like that has been your goal for the last 10 months. But if you are not good enough to make the playoffs, and you recognize that right now, and you still have your 23 first, and you're thinking it probably ends up being maybe the 103, 104, 105, you're not the worst team in the league, but you're not making the playoffs. Would you send that first round pick for CeeDee Lamb?
If I had some other smaller moves I could make to make my pick worse, then yes. Like if I had some rookie I drafted in like the second or third, like if I had Isaiah Pacheco on my team and I could flip him for like Cordarrelle Patterson plus a little, like give me
give
those
yourself a little bit of production.
Give me Isaiah Pacheco did score a couple of points, but like give me these players that are worth very, very little in dynasty value, but have that fantasy value and are going to score points. Like, Brandon Cooks will always be, he'll never be worth what he scores. So if I have smaller moves I could make to make sure I'm getting it to the 105, 106 instead of the 101 to 103,
right,
I would think about it, because CeeDee Lamb is really, really good. I mean, that's all I could really say, player over situation.
And you would take Jackson Smith and Jigba over CeeDee Lamb, or vice versa, Lamb over Jackson Smith and Jigba?
I don't know yet.
Because that's basically where we're at right there, where he's going to be in that conversation for the 104 probably. We're assuming Stroud and Young and Bijan are some order of your top 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets into, are you taking JSN? Are you taking Will Levis? Or the RB2? That's where that conversation is. And the more players that you start stacking ahead of Jackson Smith and Jigba, that's where it could be possible where playoff teams that have the 107, 108 are getting Jackson Smith and Jigba.
I mean, don't forget, CeeDee Lamb was the 106-ish in his draft. I mean, it's how it goes, especially in these drafts that are stacked or will be stacked.
I think it's an interesting conversation.
It's the player you know versus the player you don't know, right? That's really what it comes down to, or your ability to trade for a first later or into a draft. Very league dependent on that in that sense, but I really like CeeDee Lamb, so I'd be probably more willing to send a pick than maybe most will. But I mean, if you don't believe in CeeDee Lamb, you don't make that move. But
right.
if you do, I
Or
think if you have playoff first, I think that's a definite send.
Lamb could still lose value, especially if he doesn't produce when Dak comes back. He could lose value. That first ain't losing value.
Ain't losing. I mean, yes, that is the
There's that
absolute
as
fair
well.
case where you should just never trade a 23 first at this point because it's just going to keep going up. Unless, you know, we're talking Chase or Jefferson or Jonathan Taylor or, you know.
Well, sure, but you're not trading 1 first for those guys.
Exactly.
Or 2 first.
I bet you before the end of the season, we see a 101 for someone stupid. Like
probably.
Joe Burrow for the 101 or something weird. Like it'll happen. Let's go to the next trade though. Same, I forgot what it was already. 12-team super flex. CeeDee Lamb for this is real respect. A 23 first, a 24 first, AJ Dillon, and Julio Jones, whose hair is fantastic in his DLF picture. CeeDee Lamb 860.9, which that isn't a 12-team super flex because that's the same.
It's all close.
Yeah, you didn't write that. Okay. So a 23 first, 384.2, AJ Dillon, 305, 24 first, 257, Julio Jones, 20, total of 966. So this is overpaying.
This is 1 QB.
1 QB. Sorry. That does it. Man, give me those picks and those players. I can't help it. I can't help it.
Makes it easier.
I like CeeDee Lamb, but that is 2 firsts and AJ Dillon, who I think will be very good this season and will gain value going forward because Aaron Jones will get older every day that goes by, and that will make people value him less. So Dillon's value will go up. This is while I'm not usually a fan of 4-for-1s, this is the way I'll do it. I would accept this trade in most cases if I had CeeDee Lamb on my team.
This trade, and remember, so these analyzer values are still taking in pre-Dak Prescott's injury. So this trade on the analyzer was 100 points in favor of the package before Dak Prescott got hurt. So then you add in Lamb dropping a little bit of value just because Dak's no longer his quarterback for the next month or two. And that just makes it a little bit easier here. Like, I mean, we were just debating, would you take Lamb or a 23 first? Now, granted, that was in Superflex, so 1 QB
very, very different, yeah.
But now you add, like you said, another first and AJ Dillon. And I also think just for fun, you know, if you're a contending team that had CeeDee Lamb, it's possible that you're not losing production starting Julio Jones in your wide receiver spot.
Especially with Godwin getting hurt.
Julio Jones Godwin out and Dak out. I think that makes it, you know, compelling enough to where if they're both scoring 10 to 12 points, you know, because Julio's getting thrown to by Tom Brady as potentially the wide receiver 2 and Lamb is the wide receiver 1 for Cooper Rush, you know, like that, and then you picked up 2 firsts. You got AJ Dillon as a flex player and you're good to go. This one is a lot easier. I think I would be doing this for sure. And if you have CeeDee Lamb, I would be trying for this, though I don't know if it's possible to get that, but this happened after the Monday night game. So
yeah, this is definitely going to be out there for, there's almost any star player. There's one person in your league that is a stan, as the kids say these days, or like 5-10 years ago. You know, there's always that one person. There's an AJ Dillon person in every single league. There's going to be a CeeDee Lamb person in every single league. And if you have CeeDee Lamb and that's not you, this is what, go do this.
Yeah.
Because it can get accepted, right? Like that's why you send offers that sometimes you ask a little too much at first, because what happens if they say yes?
Or they come back and they'd be like, if you take out AJ Dillon, would you do it? And I'd still, you know, the answer might still be yes. If you take out AJ Dillon, I still might do that. Or if you take out one of the firsts, like the 24 first, I still might do it. I think it's closer, but that's where the conversation starts entering into where.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to then come back and, like, if we took Dillon out, I would take the 24 first and Julio, package those values together and try and get a different player, because I need AJ Dillon there to replace my points, assuming I'm scoring. And if I'm not scoring, I just don't like putting that value in running backs. Though I guess if you're patient, unlike me, and hold Dillon until the second half of the season, where maybe Aaron Jones starts slowing down and they start giving Dillon more touches like they did last year, his value goes up and you get more for him. I'm just not patient. So that's on me.
know who you are as a dynasty trader. That's a quality for sure.
Yes, I definitely know myself. Speaking of knowing myself, we're gonna move in Russ's inbox, where I will explain why I hate the point scoring season.
Mm.
So in a Trade Addicts league, I had sent to me. Actually, I'm not gonna tell you which side was mine. This
We
is
already
a
know which side
trade
you are.
in my inbox.
We know which side you are.
T. Higgins for Michael Pittman and Brandon Ayuk. Hit me with it. What do you got?
I want the Michael Pittman side. And I know that means that you have to trade away your boy T. Higgins, but I want the Michael Pittman side.
What if I told you I have Pittman and Ayuk?
What? You didn't have T. Higgins?
I have T. Higgins is one of my most owned players. This is one of those leagues where someone knows me. Well, everybody at this point. I mean, he's right there. People, you do this, the amount I've had to pay for Calvin Ridley over the years is ridiculous. And they'll even go, this is your guy. And I'm like, I know it's my guy. So I have Pittman and Ayuk. And value-wise, T. Higgins 422, Pittman 307, Ayuk 134, total of 441. This is a good trade. It just also happens to become okay. So I'm not gonna ding T. Higgins' dynasty value for getting a concussion, but I have been on the Michael Pittman train for a while. He happened to score 27 points this week. Brandon Ayuk had a bad game, but I do think that
the entire Niners,
Bears. If you did not see the conditions in which the Chicago-San Francisco game was played in,
everybody's seen it.
Just go look. It was atrocious. I literally don't know how they took more than one step without slipping and falling. Some players did. So, I'm not going to hold any of that game against anyone. But what I'm going to do, I am thrilled with Justin Fields. He looked so good while being under attack that entire game.
He's gotten used to it.
We have continue being used to on Trade Addicts, we did overreactions and freakouts, and my overreaction was Justin Fields is the next Russell Wilson. He was running in circles in the backfield, but still threw a 40-yard pass across the field, right to the wide open receiver. That is a Doug Baldwin. That was the problem. Yes, it was Dante Pettis. It wasn't Doug Baldwin. But that's the exact play I was talking about. It was amazing to see because I like Justin Fields. He was my QB2 in that draft, right below Trevor Lawrence, who I also feel better about in that offense, even though it wasn't the greatest outing in the world. But we're not here to talk about them. We're here to talk about this. Sorry, I get sidetracked very easily. I feel like this, if I saw this get accepted in a different league that I wasn't in, but I happened to see the Twitter poll, or someone says, hey, I just did this, what do you think? I would say, yeah, that's a good trade, whatever. I can't bring myself to pull the trigger to go get T. Higgins by sending away Michael Pittman, who just scored 27 points.
I'm keeping Michael Pittman here. And I don't know which way you're going to feel about this because I know you love Higgins and Pittman, but our general mantra is you have to overpay in the 2-for-1s to get the better player, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Brandon Ayuk might be on the wrong side.
How dare you? Look at how bad of a game Joe Burrow had, but still look how many yards and fantasy points Burrow and Chase had. Now imagine if T. Higgins didn't get hurt. Maybe he catches that Boyd touchdown. Maybe he catches 4 of the 27 catches that Jamar Chase had. T. Higgins finishes week 1 completely healthy, scores 16, 18 fantasy points. No one is looking down on T. Higgins at all whatsoever. Nothing is changing. Michael Pittman also just happened to do really, really well.
I was going to say, the problem is that Pittman is the guy on the Colts.
Yep.
And he's really freaking good. Higgins, and you've said this before, you know that this is the deal with T. Higgins. He's always going to be in the shadow of Jamar Chase. He's never going to be the wide receiver 1 on his team. He's never going to be Joe Burrow's go-to target. He's never going to be the most valuable wide receiver on his team in Dynasty. Whereas Michael Pittman, I still think Michael Pittman has the potential to grow into, like, at the end of the year, I really don't think it's out of the question that Michael Pittman is the top 5 Dynasty wide receiver. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but
It's
like
a little spicy.
But like, just looking at the condition of the state of the wide receiver position right now, it's Chase and Jefferson. And then the top 5 receivers right now in September ADP: Jefferson, Chase, Lamb, AJ Brown, Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel. Michael Pittman is already the wide receiver 9. I could see him. There's going to be an age argument with the fact that,
Hill and Adams. And...
he's gonna bump over Diggs because of age. He's gonna bump over Deebo because of production and age. He's gonna bump over Cooper Kupp because of age. So he's gonna be 5 years younger than Cooper Kupp, and Kupp's gonna be 30. He's gonna bump over CeeDee Lamb because we've seen production from Michael Pittman that we haven't seen from CeeDee Lamb by probably the end of the year. So I really don't think it's all that. I think AJ Brown's the wide receiver 3. I don't think it's all that impossible that even if Kupp stays in as the top 5, that Pittman comes in and takes over for Lamb, bumping over T. Higgins. So I'm sticking with Michael Pittman here because I think that at the end of the year he could be the more valuable wide receiver, and plus you got a free Brandon Ayuk.
Did Amon-Ra St. Brown do well enough that Amon-Ra and Ayuk for Higgins would seem like a good trade, or do you think Amon-Ra's for real and he's going to score 20 points every week?
I would take T. Higgins on that one. I would take T. Higgins over Amon-Ra and Brandon Ayuk. Because I do think he's legit, but I also think that he's going to take a hit when Jameson Williams comes back.
But what will make me happy is having AJ Brown, Michael Pittman, and T. Higgins on the same team.
That is so much better than having AJ Brown, Michael Pittman, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Brandon Ayuk.
I just countered.
I like that counter a lot. I want to see how that goes through.
I'll let you know if he takes it because he's competing. Like, this guy's team's very good. So Amon-Ra scoring 20 hopefully is enough to make him feel like he can go down from Michael Pittman, wide receiver 5, apparently.
You heard it here first.
All right. Well, on that note, and because I have a call in 5 minutes, this has been another fantastic, spicy at the end. We have like a little spicy aftertaste in your throat. DLF Trade Show, part of the fantastically awesome DLF YouTube, Dynasty League Football, by the way, just in case. We don't really have it written out anywhere. And if you love the DLF YouTube channel, subscribe. The names are blocking it, but Addison has that nice, awesome counter over there. Because Addison, senior contributor Addison Hayes, is pretty much responsible for this YouTube channel. So if you like the YouTube channel, you like Addison, you follow, you subscribe, you hit that bell to get notified every time another fantastic video of Addison's drops. And you know what? Send him a gif of a high five every time you hear that bell also, because just let him know he is appreciated and he is awesome. And I'm making him feel so awkward and I love it. Yes. And we'll see you next time.